Hey, I'm back out here working on the 440 tonight. Hey, we're getting close on this engine. It's time to put in the lifters and the push rods and reinstall the valve train. And despite a bunch of, I guess, distractions like that motorcycle over there, I'm ready to get jamming on this 440. So the last video, what we did is we put the priming shaft in to get the oil pump turning counterclockwise. We brought oil up to the top of the valve train. I've since pulled that out. I put the intermediate shaft back in. Let's see, you can probably see it there. I have a little flashlight. That's going to be driving the distributor. What we learned is that by turning the engine over to get the fourth cam journal lined up to bring the oil up to the respective cylinder head valve trains, it basically wiped all the cam lube off. So I went through and I'm bumping the engine over just a little bit, maybe 45 degrees at a time, and I put more cam lube on it. You can reach in there with your finger, no problem, and get some more cam lube on there. So yeah, cheap insurance. I know it's going to get wiped off right away as soon as this engine cranks up to start, but let's not be sloppy about, not having enough of the cam lube on there. Okay, what else? So I brought the engine around to almost top dead center, right where I want to drop the distributor in eventually. Your first and your third journals here, cam lobes on the camshaft are operating the number one cylinder. So as you probably know, you got the exhaust and you got the intake. The intake's here and the exhaust is lined up with the exhaust port. So your first one is the exhaust, and the third one there is the one that's running the number one cylinder intake. Okay, so you're going to sweep your engine around until the cam lobe moves through underneath this lifter bore, and you'll know when you're in the right spot when you come back around and you're near top dead center. Okay, and you'll also be able to double check that your cam lobe here for the exhaust is getting ready to come around. So that's the next thing that's going to happen, is that's going to sweep through. So we are on the compression stroke, and that's where you want to be to put the distributor in and have it pointing at, the number one spark plug wire. All right, well, with that, let's get started with a little bit of disassembly here. I'll go ahead and take off this rocker shaft assembly, make room for the push rods, and we'll get all the lifters installed. Do this side first. Okay. When we get back to installing it, I'll show you a close-up of these rocker arms. There's a left and a right. And you have to make sure they're installed, in pairs in the correct orientation. There's also spacers on the shaft. They're different sizes. This one here is one of the wider ones. I got a narrow one here in the middle. I guess it's pretty obvious where these things go, but let me bring the camera around and show you. There's also some spacers between these. This is a stock rocker shaft assembly. Maybe down the road after it's broken, I might get a higher ratio set of rocker arms, maybe some roller ones. I'm obviously using a flat tappet hydraulic cam. Okay, well, here's kind of a close-up of the valve train. And what you can see is that you've got kind of a small spacer here under this bolt. Here's a wide one in this wide section of the cylinder head, narrow under this narrow section. Here's another wide section. There's your wide spacer, and then another narrow one. The bolts are different lengths too. We'll see that in a second. And then here you can see a right and a left rocker arm. And if you look close, you'll see that on the right one, if you look straight down, this dimple here for the push rod is offset a little to the left. And on the left one, that dimple's offset a little bit to the right. So you just pair those things up and you'll be all set. And in between them, there's a little spacer. I don't know if you can see it there. Trying to spin it, but there's a shadow, obviously. Okay, let me set the camera down, get back to work here. All right, that's pretty close. All right. Pull this guy off. You can see there the different bolt lengths. All right. I'll set that aside, and got my lifters that I pulled out. I've been keeping them in order. You know, we trial fit them all. We made sure they all spun. So I'm going to stick with that. This one's labeled number 1. You can grab a clean, you know, not a paper towel, but like a lint-free rag, and make sure there's no dirt on them. I went through and put oil on all of those lifter bores, so there's actually quite a bit of oil in here. It's not completely topped off, but I poured a lot of oil in. Okay, so let's get number 1 started here. Just make sure they slip down nice and don't get hung up. You don't want any dirt or anything in there that would prevent them from rotating. All right, here's the second one. Making sure it's clean. Again, the lifter bore is well lubed. So I've got, you know, as I pulled them out, there was still lube on the end that rides on the cam. So it did pull a little bit off there. I guess that's a good sign. It didn't just squeegee all the lube off into the bottom of the engine. Some of it was still there. I put a dot more on it. Okay. Make sure these are running smooth. Okay. So far, so good. Number 3. There's a little groove here. Excuse me, fighting a cold. And down here in the lifter bores, if you can see it, there's a little like oval cutout in there where the oil drains back. So you might find that, you know, as these brand new sharp parts go together, you can kind of feel it go across that. I don't think that's a reason for concern. I mean, you've got a lot of oil in there. Long as they go up and down smooth like this, okay, you're going to be okay. And lots of that break-in lube where it's going to ride on the cam. Okay. Drop that guy in. Okay. Let's work our way down. I guess I said I was going to work on this passenger side first, and then I got sidetracked working on the driver's side, but okay. One more. Get that guy in there. Okay, now we're over here on our passenger bank. Get these guys in there. Don't drop them. You don't want to get them nicked up. You can see they pumped up with oil fast. And I set them in this box and half the oil drained out. But yeah, as soon as you start cranking over that oil pump, these hydraulic lifters pump up really fast. Okay. Just making sure there's no dirt on those things. Okay. And of course had them covered, but you never know. A bug could go in there, walk around, do his business or something. I don't know. There's a little speck on that one. Okay. Nice. Okay. The last one. There we go. Okay. Make sure they're all nice and smooth in there. Shouldn't have anything holding them up. It's the last time you're going to mess with them. Okay. Okay, well, thank you for your patience while I'm just making sure that everything is good to go. They have so much lube on them, they're sticking like glue to the cam, like suction. Okay, yeah, I'm happy. They're all real smooth in there. All right. Well, next, well, I grabbed this scrap piece of metal. I guess it's it's an old antenna. I'm gonna set that across here. See if that will help get these push rods lined. I got a stock set of push rods. You know, when I took the engine apart, I had one that was actually too short. It was like 60 thousandths shorter than all the others, and it didn't match. So although these things are all kind of maybe a variety, I did order a brand new one. I checked it with the giant calipers at work to make sure that it was okay. So yeah, I know that all these are the same length. I suppose some of it's taken up in the hydraulic lifter, but it can never be too safe. I'm not going to skimp on something like that, one push rod. So I threw the one aside that was short. These don't have, you know, holes drilled through them. They're solid. The oil's going up through a galley in the block and working its way up to the head, to the rocker shaft. Okay, so a little different than other style engines, I guess. All right, two more here. Get these guys aligned. Okay, looking good. All right, well, let's go ahead and get that rocker shaft on this side. And then we can use our metal rod there, that coat hanger, for the other side. Okay, so just kind of sweep this thing up. See if you can get all those rockers to flip at once. Sometimes it's a little tricky. Okay, and then get the bolts started. And once you get it snugged down, of course, you're going to pull that metal rod out of the way. These bolts are sharp as the devil. I don't know what's up with them, but is that a Mopar thing I just don't remember, but they are really sharp. I feel them like cutting at my gloves. All right, this is where I should probably have a power tool, but I like to use hand tools just so I can feel if there's anything like some dirt or something that's in the threads. Okay, now each and every one of these is at a little bit different place on the cam lobes. Some of them there's pressure, and other ones there's not because they're down on the base circle. So just going to kind of work this thing down nice and smooth, and then we'll go back and we'll check the our Mopar manual on the torque spec. I think it's 25, so we can check that. Got our chart here. Okay, yeah, let's see here. Rocker shaft bolts, 25. Okay, so my torque wrench, that might be near the lower limit of it, but we might be able to do 15 and then sneak up on 25. Let's see. All right, before I get too tight on these, let's make sure that all these push rods are not only in the center of those lifters, but that they're also okay here in the little pocket on the respective rocker arms. Okay, they look good to me. All right. You could put a little lube on the ends of those if you want. There's a little hole in the rocker arms here. So there's a tiny little hole there. So as these get oiled, a little bit of oil goes to the head of that. They're all drenched in oil now because we primed the oil pump. So, okay. Starting to get snug. Okay, go through and make sure it's seated on the cylinder head. Looks good. All right, let me grab the torque wrench. And yeah, as I thought, well, it can go down to 15. Let's try 15, see if that, oh, that's nothing. Okay, well, right to 25 we go. 20, 22, 24, 25. I'm going to work my way from inside out. Okay. If you're installing different rocker arms, a different shaft, you know, check the instructions that yours came with to make sure that you've got the right torque. If you're using different bolts, maybe you have a little bit more. I'm going to stick with the stock specs. I have stock rocker arms, and heck, I'm threading into aluminum, so we're not going to overdo it, okay? All right, that looks good to me. Let's go ahead and pull this rod out, assuming it'll cooperate here. I guess the fact that it's an antenna, it's got a little ball on the end that's, you know, giving me a little bit of resistance here. Come on. So maybe I'll go grind that thing off, because that's annoying. Whoa, and I almost knocked over the camera. Okay. So yeah, that little ball on the end is kind of in the way. Okay. So I can feel some of them are tight. The ones that are on the base circle a little bit loose, but you know, once the engine, you know, fires up, all those lifters are going to quickly build oil pressure, and the ones that you can actually turn just a little bit are going to get a little bit tighter. Okay. And let's go to the other side. Now first I got to pull the rocker arms off. So maybe I'll just move this to the side a little bit and move the camera over like so. All right, let's get to work over there. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's not let this hit it, fall off on the ground. Oh, number 5. Okay. Okay, good. Let's set it aside. Okay, stay there. All right, let's get those push rods. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right, good. Here's our rod here. Should have set that in there first. Okay, make sure they're all sitting properly in the lifter. And let's go ahead and grab that rocker shaft assembly. And let's see if we can just roll it on up. Those long bolts are hanging up a little bit. Get a couple of them started. Okay. And then let's make sure these things are all aligned. They're not yet. I got to go down a little bit more. Well, everything gets slippery after you've got oil on your gloves. Okay. I'm going to loosen this up a little bit because that end one was feeling a little bit tight. I want to go down evenly. Okay, that's looking a little bit better. Okay. If I could snake this thing out of here. Not quite yet. All right. It's really light. Start. Okay, and then check the alignment. Okay, we're getting close. A lot of pressure on this one. It's at the top. So number 3, intake. It's got a lot of pressure on it. It's up on the top of the lobe. All right, let's see if we can't get this metal rod out of here. I'll give it a little bit more action before. There we go. Get that out of the way. Okay. You can look down the rocker shaft next to the cylinder head and make sure it's seated. Check all your spacers are in. All those round ones between each. Check your lefts and rights, make sure they're all mated up properly. Okay, make sure all those push rods are in the pockets of the rockers, and we're good. All right, torque wrench. Let's back it down. Where were we? 15 or 16 we were doing? Yeah. Okay, 10. Let's do 16 first. Yep, that's not much. That's basically hand tight. Okay, and up to 25. 20, 22, 24, 25. Okay, sweet. All right, and then I go back over them one more time just to make sure as I torque the other ones, one of the ones I did previously didn't get loose. All right, I think we're good. I'm gonna say that's probably a wrap for this video. We could put the valve covers on. I think we'll stop there. Maybe I'll do a couple other things along with the valve covers on the next video. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out. Catch you later.